Pro Tem Bond will give them the case.
Anybody want to?
Yeah, exactly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We bow our heads, please. Oh, Heavenly Father, we come to Thee this afternoon to say thank you. Thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Thank you and give us the knowledge to do the business of Edenton, to keep our town safe, clean, and beautified. We thank you for also for the county that we live in, the state that we live in, and the great country that we live in. Please guide us and watch over us while we conduct our business. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you all. And the next item is the approval of the minutes for our regular meeting on June the 14th and our special meeting in closed session on June the 27th. I would entertain a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Sorry, Mayor, quick question. For the June 27th meeting, it said that we approved the bird project. Did you see that? I didn't think we had brought that to a vote.
No, that is not, that item was not approved. It was to be further examined for pros and cons by Councilman Hyde. That was tabled until a later date, correct? So those revisions will need to be made to the June 27th meeting minutes. Thank you for bringing that up. We will make the correction.
Yeah, fourth paragraph on the first page.
All right, so we would need to approve the minutes as presented with one.
With the exception.
With the exception of that.
Okay.
And
All right. Would you read your motion? Straight.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of the amended motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next we have a presentation for the Electric Municipal Electric Safety Award for 2021. The Electric Department recently received notification of the 2021 Electricity's Municipal Electric Safety Award. The award is for 0 lost man hours for the entire year of 2021. This is quite a milestone for the town's electric department, considering the work conditions and type of task the employees complete daily. And I would like to commend the electric department director, Mike Nichols, and the entire staff for continuing to provide safe and reliable electric services to the customers. And they received this award for doing this, and I'll present this to Troy since no one is here for them to represent them. I'll ask you to
thank you.
deliver that to them. Thank you.
Yes, it is, Mayor. Thank you for that. I was unable to accommodate Mike and any of the staff tonight. They all had prior engagements. They were aware of the award, and I'll make sure that the department gets that this week.
With the hazardous work that they do a lot of times and go for a whole year without any type of accident, that's quite an accomplishment. Okay, the next item is our boards and commissions and committee appointments. And I would like to personally thank each one of you for applying to our town committees for boards, and we somehow know we don't seem to get enough of those applicants and this type of thing, so I really appreciate the fact that y'all stepped forward and offered to do that. And we have 3 applicants seeking appointment to the various positions on town committees and boards. There are additional applicants that could not be with us tonight, and we plan to interview those applicants on July the 25th. Tonight's applicants to consider are Francis Moffett for the Edenton Preservation Commission, Kiana Green, Edenton Planning Board, and Flint Harding for the Edenton Tree Committee. And I would entertain a motion to,
Okay.
Yeah. And so Mayor, before we take action, on, these appointments, we would like to at least give, the interviewees an opportunity to introduce themselves and share their interest in the particular committees that they're looking into. So,
Ms. Moffett will be the first one.
Ms. Moffett, if you wouldn't mind, standing up at the podium and telling us a little bit about yourself and your interest in the Preservation Commission.
I hope you can hear me. I'm Frances Holton Maffett. I am applying for the Edenton Preservation Commission. I grew up in Edenton. I grew up right in the heart of the historic district. And I've been interested all my life in architecture, and particularly older historic type homes, buildings. And I really looked at this commission as a place to maybe give back and entertain the ideas of keeping Edenton just as beautiful as it's always been to me. I have lived outside Edenton for a number of years and just moved back 6 years ago. I lived in Baltimore City, where I was a realtor at that time, and I lived in another historic district down by the Inner Harbor. It was called Federal Hill. The houses there were built in the mid-1800s, but some even older. That sparked my interest also. So I just feel like maybe I can give to Edenton through the Historic Preservation Commission. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Do you think your
Answer.
background in historic selling historic real estate will be a benefit to you and your role on Edenton Preservation
I hope
Commission?
so. I'll answer any questions that you have about me.
I just have a comment. I think we're really lucky to have you apply, and so.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Dixon
You are.
and Mayor.
Corey and Mayor Stallings, how do we traditionally handle this with COVID? Roger and I are a little bit new to this. I think we've done it one time before, but it was kind of a modified version. Do we hear from them tonight and then the other applicants and interested parties at this later date, and then we vote on it? Are we voting on anything tonight? Help educate Roger and myself on that.
We have an option to go ahead and proceed tonight with the applicants that are here, and then take action on the applicants at the 25th, or if council chooses to delay until the 25th for all, we could do it at that time, so we can navigate this either way.
And that leads me to my next question. They seem to be all fine candidates, but if we would appoint them tonight, does that preclude any of the other candidates? In other words, how many open spots versus candidates do we have?
No, this will not affect any of the other candidates going forward for any positions.
Okay.
And those coming in at a later date, there are vacancies.
Yes, yes, they will not be impacted if council decides to take action tonight. They will not be affected.
And I will say, as far as the Preservation Commission, I think they need to get up and running as quickly as they can. Because there's a lot of business, and those things roll around each month.
Is everybody in favor of, once we hear from them, unless somebody really, really makes a bad impression, taking action tonight? I don't think any of you will.
I think we're in favor.
And for those of you that don't know Mrs. Moffett, she lives on the corner of Granville and
Queen,
Queen.
Church.
in the house that Dr. Baker used to live in.
Mhm.
She's done quite a bit of work to that house.
Yeah, yeah, I remember when we talked.
Al Nichols too.
Yeah.
Remember Al Nichols?
Yeah.
He lived there too.
Yeah.
You, You want a motion to approve?
So my recommendation would be to interview all three candidates tonight and then take action
After they all finish.
after they all finish, in one motion.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moffitt.
Thank you.
Okay, the next would be Kiana Green. So Kiana, if you would tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Like Ms. Moffett, can you all hear me? And excuse the fogginess, I came on a later flight and I'm a little jet lagged and those things, so please let me know if I need to speak up. As stated, my name is Kiana Green, Overton. Many of you will see on that application it will say Green because many of my licenses still state as such. But as an Overton, there is a lot of history here with my husband, and we've come back to do some preservation ourselves, like Ms. Muffin. But what I am applying for today is for the Board of Planning for you all, because I think the town is beautiful. Since I've been here, we've been restoring one of the homes in the historical district. We've had an opportunity to meet so many new people, new faces, and also have had an opportunity to open a local business here as well, to give back to the community and to feed this community. A little bit of my background is, some of you who do still know me, I'm still a nurse executive. I work remotely as a business developer for Chamberlain University. And so I think I'll be able to bring, or hope to bring a little bit of that to support the vision here. But my plan is to hear from you, hear what that vision is and see how I can help support that. And with that, any questions from you?
Yeah, I for one am just so happy you're getting involved, and they aren't just restoring a house, they're restoring, one of the very best iconic houses in Edenton, which is the one across from the Cadiz Church. And, they're coming and opening a business, and they're tackling that house, which is just uber important in Edenton. And, it's so great y'all here, and I'm so happy you're doing this.
I just want to say hi, neighbor. Glad to see you take a roll into the town. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions of Kiana?
Thank you for volunteering to do this service, we appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to seeing and hopefully working with all of you. Good to see you, Amber.
Yeah, we all want a tour of the Bottom House when y'all get it finished.
Absolutely, first word yours.
That was quite an undertaking.
It's a miracle.
All right, the next would be Flint Harding. Flint is applying to be on the tree committee. Flint, would you close that blind right behind you there? I can't see. That's better, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Flint Harding, and I live at 407 Court Street, a block or so over, and applying for the tree committee. And I'm not an arborist by training or profession. I'm a chemical engineer, but I've always had an interest in trees and forestry in general, and especially just appreciated some of the trees that we have here in Edenton. And so it's a chance for me to serve and give something back to the community. And so look forward to being on the committee and being able to work with some of you all if I'm appointed.
You've got a background in agricultural products through your profession?
Yes, through my profession, I had worked at Avoca for a number of years on extraction and processing of botanicals, and now I currently work for a tobacco company. So
And your neighbor across the street is on the tree committee, but you know that.
that's correct. Yeah.
Thank you for applying for that. That's great to have you.
Thank you.
Any other questions
Any
or
other
comments? All right, Flint, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank all of you again for your application and for getting involved with the town. Okay, so now I'll maintain a motion to accept all of these.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those, any further comments?
This might be, this is one of the, I've been on doing this 25 years, this might be one of the strongest slates of candidates I've ever seen.
I agree. All those in favor of the motions, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, the next is reappointments for the Edenton Preservation Commission. For tonight's meeting, there are a total of 5 positions to consider for the Edenton Preservation Commission. Of these 5 positions, there are a total of 3 of which are eligible for reappointment for the Edenton Preservation Committee. They are Tom Newbern, Linda Fulton, and Lisa Baker. Each of these 3 have requested reappointment and have remaining term eligibility for reappointment to the commission. The remaining 2 positions have reached the end of their 3rd term and could only be reappointed if there are special circumstances for them to stay aboard. Both have asked to stay aboard, but at this time, there are no additional applicants to consider on the 25th, July 25th meeting. With that said, there are no special circumstances to consider to grant this 4th term. And we want to thank both Earl Willis and Nancy Sorensen for serving their 3 terms, and we look forward to working with them in the future. Okay. We don't need to take any action.
The only action, Mayor, is reappointment of the 3 candidates for Tom Newbern for a 2nd appointment, Linda Thornton for a 3rd appointment, and Lisa Baker for a 2nd appointment.
Okay.
I make a motion.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on either one of these candidates? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So they are now reappointed.
A question, Mayor. So that gives us 4 members on the Preservation Commission. 3 vacancies, right?
We have more applicants that will be in on the
Okay.
25th that could not be here tonight with the rest of the Preservation Commission group that were unable for personal conflict. We will interview and appoint those candidates at that time if selected, and those will fill the vacancies that we have.
In that particular board, on that particular
Yes,
commission.
for the Preservation Commission, that's correct.
Will someone get back with the other
We
2
will.
here? Let them-
Yes.
All right, the next item is a public hearing for case number MSUP 22-01, a major special use permit application from Edenton LLC for the subdivision of portion of property into a residential lot located at 425 Old Hertford Road. It has been approved by the Board of Adjustments, and Corey, I'll let you take it from there.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Dwayne was not able to be with us tonight, so I advised him that I would be glad to help with this. I do have Chris Hale and Frank Tragar with us tonight for agenda item 6A, the case that you just discussed. So to give a little bit of background, the property that we're considering the major special use permit is for 425 Old Hertford Road. This lot is approximately 5.44 acres and is currently zoned commercial highway. What Mr. Hale and Mr. Tragar are requesting from the council is to consider a major special use permit for this property in order to be able to subdivide. To provide a little bit of clarity around the subdivision process, there are 4 items that need to be addressed and considered when issuing a major special use permit. First of which is the water and sewer infrastructure need to be added to. The streets or stormwater infrastructure need to be added to that second. The electric utilities being added to, that's third. The fourth thing, which is really the thing to consider here, is the subdivision of a parcel smaller than 10 acres into multiple tracts. Of the 4 items that we discussed when we talk about water and sewer, when we talk about streets and stormwater, and we talk about electric utilities, none of these are applicable to this lot. These would all be the 5 lots located here on Old Hertford Road at 425, 4 of which would be residential R20 properties, of which each would have road frontage. These would be single-family home lots with road frontage. And the 5th lot, which is north on the North Broad Street portion across from where Donna Winborn's office is, they're kind of the center of the screen. That would be the 5th parcel that they're requesting. At this time, Mr. Hale and Mr. Tragar have both been unanimously decided by the planning board for approval for this. And as part of our policy and planning requirements, as a follow-up for that, this would also need council approval for a major special use permit. Let's see. When we look at the recommendation, town staff does recommend this major special use permit. Dwayne and I have been through the process for quite some time with Mr. Hale and Mr. Tragar, trying to make sure this is something that was applicable, that's permitted. This will not endanger the public health or safety. It will also not injure the value of the adjoining or abutting properties. It will also be in harmony with the area which is it is located along the Old Hertford roadway. These lots will be similar in size to what's existing and what's there. It won't be something extremely small or extremely large. And when we consider how the parcel will be subdivided along the North Broad Street area, the surrounding properties there are also commercial highway, and the parcel will be very fitting for what's there. One of the things that we did ask Mr. Hale and Mr. Tragar to do, because of the way the land is positioned and how you have 2 views, one from the North Broad Street extension as well as the Old Hertford side, is we did ask for there to be some landscaping buffering between the North Broad Street side to the Old Hertford side. That way residential wouldn't see commercial property and commercial property wouldn't see residential. So when we consider the harmony of the area with that caveat, I think this is very much appropriate. And the 4th item to consider is that it does meet the conformity of the current land use plan. So at this time, if anyone has any questions, Chris Hale and Frank Tragar are here with us tonight. Asked them to be here in case there was any questions about the parcel that's existing. But based on staff recommendations, we feel like this would be something that would be very appropriate if council decides.
Corey, just show me where 425 Old Hertford Road is.
So 425 Old Hertford Road is here. This is parish property here, and this is an old parish farm. This is actually the gentleman.
Is Smart Start down there too?
That's the second home,
Okay,
This.
just below it, yes.
okay.
Yes.
And so this is on the north end of Old Hertford Road, closest to where the Coach House, the old hotel is at. Colonials, thank you. But the subdivision they're requesting would be similar in size to the existing parish property that's residential zoned R20. The lot sizes would be very similar to that and would carry along this back property edge, consistent with what typical lot sizes are for this area. This back portion would be the 5th parcel that's along North Broad, and I believe this is the air gas
Correct,
location.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah, the 5 houses and the.
That's what we like.
What would be the price, do you have any idea what the price range might be when they are made available?
We've got a variety of plans and we're building all over the county and all over town, but, we see those homes being between 1,500 and 2,200 square foot. They could be between high 200s to low to mid 300s. The market kind of drives what we do.
Yeah.
You know, we're in a good position to service the larger employers, you know, as they're bringing people to town to come to work. And, you know, we're gonna build what people need and what they want. We do have, you know, a mission to build affordable housing. And we're looking at multiple projects around town to do that, workforce housing and just more affordable housing. It's just kind of a passion, you know, the young folks and the first responders and the teachers, you know, they all need an opportunity to have a home. And we didn't create this economic environment. We're sort of reacting to it, you know, and moving around and doing what we can. With interest rates, it might be a tough time to service the absolute entry level of the workforce at this exact moment, but we can always circle back around when things, you know, allow us to. But we need more housing. Every employer I've spoken to has said, you know, when we built a house in Oak Hill, and Colony Tire brought a guy from Tennessee, and that's who lives in that house now. I don't know what he would have bought. There's 2 real estate agents here. I don't know what he would have bought if we hadn't have been building that house. So that's what we'd like to continue doing. Of course, we're building for a lot of relocating folks as well in some of the other neighborhoods.
Yep, thank you.
For heretofore, I think we have voted on each one of those 4 items separately, I think we have.
Yes, that's correct.
The first one is it will not endanger public health or safety.
Jimmy, do we need to, see if anybody in the public has any comments on it, just looking at the agenda?
Well, that's what we're doing with each one of these 4 items. Is, we'll ask for public comment or,
Oh, okay.
you know,
All right, and then we're gonna vote on.
that's correct.
Okay, I got you, I misunderstood, I apologize.
No problem, no problem.
I make a motion, it's not endangering public health or safety.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any comments on the, that it will not endanger the public health or safety? Hear any comments at all? And the public is welcome to join in with this if they like. All right, hear none. All those in favor of the fact that it will not endanger the public health or safety, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion is carried. The next one is that it will not injure the value of adjoining or abutting property.
I move that it will not injure the value of adjoining or abutting property.
We have a motion and a second. Any comment from either the public or anyone up here as to that it will not injure the value of adjoining or abutting property?
I think we'll enhance it.
You're right. Yeah. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next one will be in harmony with the area in which it is located. Anybody have any comments to that?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Okay, motion carried. And the last one will be in conformity with the land use plan, thoroughfare plan, or other plan officially adopted by the town council. And our town manager has already told us that it will be in conformity. So, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the public or up here, either one? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, so that one, A passed.
Now, Corey, do we need to make a finding of reasonableness and
Consistency.
and the fact that it's consistent with the comprehensive adopted plan of the town?
Yes, that's.
I move that the rezoning is in fact reasonable under the circumstances, and further move in the same motion that the rezoning is consistent with adopted land use plans of the town.
Second, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, Corey, if you will go ahead on to item C.
So so just to clarify, we did approve the rezoning item B as well,
Yes.
correct? Thank you. Mr. Hale and Mr. Tragar, y'all are welcome to join us for the rest of the meeting if you'd like, but at this time, if you choose not to, you don't have to.
Can I ask them a question, Corey?
Yes.
When y'all already started building?
When are we gonna start on that property?
Yeah.
As soon as we walk out the door.
We're gonna start advertising as soon as we walk in.
I think we'd have put on the Dollar General down that end of town.
Well, we do have some commercial property on North Broad now, so we wanna stay consistent with having business on that road. We appreciate what you guys did. We're
Thank
doing a
you.
good
Thank
job.
you for investing in our town.
Absolutely.
We love this town.
And please come back with some affordable housing also when the interest rates are more in your favor.
We're mixing it in, every chance we
Thank you
get.
so much.
I live in that community, so building those houses, we have to build it up some. Looking forward to it. Just what
Absolutely.
you buying anyway was farmland.
I'm not usually this dressed up, but feel free to stop by when we stop. Sorry.
You look more like I look every day.
I'm in the guy with the straw hat.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you all.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Best of luck.
Thank you, Mayor. The next case to consider is RZ 22-03. This is a rezoning application from Carolina Hotels Group LLC requesting the rezoning of property located at 125 Claire Drive from medical arts to commercial highway. I also have a staff report here, and joining us is Mrs. Sawyer and Mrs. Hardy. They'll also be here to help answer any questions we have. Carolina Hotels Group LLC is requesting this rezoning from medical arts to commercial highway for a potential motel site, correct? This decision was reviewed within the last 30 days by the planning board and was unanimously approved. We're very excited to be presented with this opportunity. Currently, when we look at, I'm trying to find a piece from the staff report. When we look at the concerns here and we address the same public health or safety, town staff does not recommend or does not see an endanger to public health or safety. When you consider the injury of value of adjoining or abutting property, town staff also sees no harm there to any of the surrounding property. When we look at the harmony in which the area is currently located, town staff also agrees this would be very fitting when we talk about what is currently on the Luke Claire Drive area near the hospital. We already have a rather large business section within that area between medical facilities as well as restaurants as well as other retail. When we talk about the housing piece that's there potentially for this motel establishment, this is also consistent with kind of high density living. When we look at Filberts Creek, when we look at the retirement center that's just close by, and we also consider Chowan Gardens. You have a lot of people who are in and out. It's fairly consistent with the other three residential areas there, so this commercial application is not too far of a fit from what we already see. And the last item to consider for the parcel at 125 Claire Drive is this is in conformity with the land use plan that was adopted by town council. At this time, to answer any questions, Renee or Amber are here to help, but the property is actually shown here on the map. When you get to where the BB&T is and you continue around Claire Drive, passing Speedway and BB&T and Pizza Hut, kind of looping back around towards Luke Street, the parcel of interest here is actually the majority of the land that's there within that roundabout curved street section on Claire. It's almost in line with the Medical Arts Drive where the DaVita and the newest dialysis center was at, which you can see at 4216 and 4572 for the parcel ID. The parcel we're looking at tonight for rezoning is 9306 where the red star is.
Corey, will they eventually come back at a later time to request a conditional use permit? So you can put something there in that particular case?
And from what I have here, the rezoning to commercial highway would not require conditional use permit. This would be a permitted use within this particular zoning.
Corey, was there any opposition at the planning board meeting to the project?
No, this was unanimously passed.
Any word from the ECU health system, any concept of whether they're supportive or?
We received none. Any public comment?
It was in the original rendering plans from A.R. Chesson that this parcel was always meant to be commercial highway for a future hotel.
Which brand is coming in?
It's the Marriott, Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott.
As far as that Corey point, like, is it gonna be on the side that's closer to Phillips Creek or the side that's closer to the dermatology office?
They will be coming back on the next stage for the layout. They're actually working with Marriott now to go in there and lay out all the structures, how it will be placing, and then they will come back for approval with that.
So you'll have a tech review?
We will. We'll have a TRC meeting if rezoned and purchased. We would then work with the site developer or their contractors to approve something that would be fitting for this area, and traffic entrance is one of the things that's a part of that.
And Corey, like, for example, I know we're smaller than Greenville, but it's common in other towns to have hotels near hospitals, and I know our hospital draws a 35 mile radius. And also, I've heard comments when we have events in town that places to stay are almost non-existent. And I've also heard comments, if you get a decent sized wedding and a decent sized family reunion in town at the same time, that rooms are hard to come by.
This is very true. We've heard this same sentiment, and personally, 8 years ago, my wedding was the same problem. Every room that we had was booked, and it was very, very limited. So I have felt that same sentiment personally.
I think that'll help with rates too. I know with the property that we have now with the Edenton Inn, rates are always high, that's what I heard, so that'll kind of help with the rates.
Did I hear a Marriott Courtyard?
No, it's Fairfield Inn and Suites.
Fairfield, Fairfield, okay.
And it's one of the photos.
Similar to Holiday Inn Express, that size.
It's gonna be, they're planning on 78 rooms.
78.
And from the tourism standpoint, when I gathered some information from Arian with Chouan County Tourism Authority, she said that the occupancy tax revenue collected from 2020, 2021 to 2021, 2022 is substantially higher. And she feels certain that any more rooms that we have out there will be occupied as well. I mean, we're talking a difference from, in 1 year, $189,000 to $240,000.
From the occupancy tax.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Hack said. I I mean, it's just,
That would be
yeah,
very
it's
well.
needed, I mean, it's just, yeah, this is, I mean,
Any further questions up here from either the real estate agents or from Corey?
What's the time frame on it, that they're looking to start building?
They have not locked in the time frame, but they're already working on trying to get everything structured.
This is a public hearing, so if any of you sitting out there has any questions, you're welcome to ask questions.
it would be nice to build in a walking and bike trail into town from there somehow. I mean, I think we'd have to help with that, but that would be nice to connect it to town in some way.
Don't we have like a sidewalk, bicycle, pedestrian plan
Yes.
in the works?
We haven't received any, information back from that. We were pending DOT approval of the final draft, but this particular area, between the hospital up towards the actual, grocer that's there across, Virginia Road, this area was considered for expansion for that in the initial draft.
Any further questions or comments?
Is it still open for public comment?
It is.
My biggest concern with putting a hotel there with the traffic is that there's a lot of pedestrians that use wheelchairs that live at Filbers Creek or Chowan Gardens. So I feel like maybe that is something that needs to be addressed. They don't actually have like a sidewalk that they can be on.
And that's something we can go through specifically with this parcel when we go to the TRC meeting as far as requirements for that, that actual parcel. And at that point, getting it started is the biggest accomplishment, because then we can definitely add to that. I can definitely see your concern with some of the residents that stay in that area, being near those medical facilities.
And Corey, at the technical review committee stage, you look at safety, fire, traffic, drainage, all those sorts of things.
Yes, that's correct.
And also landscaping.
Yes, all of that would be considered at the TRC, meeting. And usually there are multiple iterations of that. We usually receive some type of initial site plan. We make revisions to the plan for utilities. Once those utilities adjustments are made, then we come back and really focus on the layout. And now that the utilities are in place, what fits above the surface, now that we've corrected any items that may be below the surface.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll close the public comment at this time. I guess we'll go through those 4 items now.
Yes.
Mayor, I make a motion that this rezoning will not endanger the public health or safety.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, the next one is that it will not injure the value of adjoining or abutting property.
Mayor, I make a motion, will not injure the value of adjoining property.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next is, will it be in harmony with the area in which it's located?
I move that this rezoning will be in harmony with the area in which it is located.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And the final one is, will it be in conformity with the land use plan, thoroughfare plan, or other plan officially adopted by the town council? And Corey has already told us that it would, so.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that it's consistent with the land use plan.
Okay. And you seconded, did you not?
I think so.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Motion carried.
And Mayor, I would make a motion that the proposed rezoning is reasonable under the circumstances.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. So we can move forward with that. All right, now that the public hearings are all over, we'll go into our committee reports, and the first one is Administrative Committee, chaired by Councilman Hyde.
Thank you, Mayor Stallings.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, ladies. Mayor, we have 3 items to discuss tonight. The first one is the consideration of an increase in the rate we charge for the Edenton trolley for after-hours use. Staff and Public Works has come to us at committee and let us know that with the price of gas, maintenance, and repairs, and the increase in those areas, that we are now running at a deficit in this particular use of our town trolley. I think last year the deficit was in excess of $9,000 per year. I think it's a good service. I think it's a good advertisement for town. People who come in for events that use it really seem to like it, and it just puts a good face on the town. I don't think any of us feel like we need to be subsidizing it though and operating it at a deficit, and that's a general feeling that I've gotten from talking with fellow councilmen and talking with administrative staff and also David Myers. The Public Works and also Dwayne Wilton checked for us on what some other municipalities are charging. They found that down at the Outer Banks, it's $240 an hour. Raleigh is $200 an hour. Charlotte, Winston-Salem are $250 an hour. And the Rowan County and Salisbury area is $250 an hour. We are currently at $100 per hour. Town staff and Public Works believes that it would be reasonable to increase that rate, particularly in light of the market rates that we just mentioned, to increase that to $200 per hour. For the purposes of getting the discussion going, I'd make a motion that we increase our after-hours trolley rental rate from $100 per hour to $200 per hour.
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds.
Any further discussion? Any discussion on that?
And just to share with the group, we did really try to hold out on this as long as we could. We knew that this is something that's a fan favorite for families, for visitors, and for guests. But current market conditions with fuel pricing just did not allow us to stay at that rate.
We just can't continue to operate at a loss.
Yes.
No, especially when you got subsidized at $9 grand. I mean, that's,
Yeah, it's almost a grand a month.
yeah. Yeah. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, let's see, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Mayor, the next item is fairly straightforward. Each year, the Department of Insurance, in order to establish their insurance ratings, requires the town to verify its relationship with the town of Edenton Fire Department. And the resolution that was put forward says, whereas the fire department of the town of Edenton serves as an agency of the town, whereas the fire department of the town of Edenton has requested confirmation of this agency relationship, and whereas this agency's relationship is long-standing and generally acknowledged, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Edenton does hereby confirm this agency's relationship and does verify by this resolution that that relationship exists. And I would just move that we adopt that resolution. It'll help our fire ratings and our insurance ratings, and it's requested by both the fire department and the North Carolina Department of Insurance. So I would make that motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mayor, the last item of business that we have for the full council is a update on the Human Relations Commission. Corey and other staff members, along with the Human Relations Commission members, have been working on a revised draft of a mission statement and objectives. And I'm going to hand it over to Corey since he's been doing the most work on this. But included in your packet were the revisions that have been developed, and Corey, if you will, just fill us in on anything you think's important. And also, Corey, do we take action on this after you report to us, or is there
Yes,
something else we
yes,
can do?
we will. Thank you, Councilman High. So, from our last meeting, we were challenged by the Human Relations Commission to make some revisions to the previous year's mission statement and those objectives, of which there were 3 in which the group felt were still relevant to the group's mission and were things that needed to be addressed and objectives for them to determine what type of initiatives they would take to try to address those. Some 4 total were removed. The group felt like they had exhausted all resources and efforts on their part to remove those. When we consider the revisions that were provided to the group, there were a total of 10 that were provided. So this would now give the group a total count of 13 objectives to consider going forward. What we would do tonight, Councilman High, is approve these objectives and the revisions that were added. And at our 25th meeting, we would have the Human Relations Commission come back and present at our committee meeting and share the initiatives that they have developed to go along with trying to accomplish these objectives. So at this time, what we're doing is creating the objectives for the group. The group will then take those reviewed. They will come back to us to present the final document for this going forward fiscal year with the initiatives that they have established. So our action tonight would be to approve the 10 objectives that were added to the document. Of those, would you like me to read the ones that were provided, or? Okay.
Up to council, I guess.
I mean, I can.
Has anything changed from what you saw?
No, it has not, no revisions. So at this time, what we need action upon is to approve the document as presented, allow the group to come back on the 25th with their initiatives, and then we'll approve the final document.
Corey, I thank you for your work on this. I like the way it's worded. I feel like the word choice in here is very, very positive and harmonious and forward-looking. I know it addresses some things that are very near and dear to Mayor Stallings' heart, like gun violence and things like that. I feel like this is a tangible document. I really appreciate the positive word choice and word usage that you and the group has put together. Roger, did you have a comment?
I did. One of the objectives there that I had a question on it was the original objective number 5. And it might need to be reworded, but I think it still needs to be in there. It says, promoting equality of opportunity and participation with a focus on town staff, boards, commissions, and town supporting organizations. I can see why that's challenging, and what I would like to see in there is maybe replacing number 5 and simply say encourage diversity within town and community organizations. I still think that should be a major role of the commission, and I'd hate to see that dropped altogether.
And to share from the Human Relations Commission, when we went through that one objective and they felt a need to remove that, they had decided with all the time that they had spent, that the town staff, the administration, as well as the elected officials, do everything in their power to promote that for any boards, for any commissions, for any appointments that we take into consideration. They feel like that's being done, and there's really no initiative for them to go after to try to improve it. They feel like that's being successfully done within the town. Mayor Pro Tem Bond, if there's anything I forgot from that, please share.
Well, we advertise for those boards and commissions quite a bit, and, there's no reason why, if they're interested, they can't come and make application. We can't force them to make application, and we encourage them to do that, and we advertise for it, so.
And the group felt that they would have a hard time creating an initiative to try to help improve or accomplish that, and that's why the group felt like they would remove it. But
Yeah, that's why I said encourage rather than promote. Yeah, I think that you can.
We beg people to fill out applications for these boards and commissions, and they don't. So, I'm not in for hog time and dragging them down here.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that's suggesting forcing, but it's not that any human relations commissioners want to encourage diversity within the community. I just hate to see that dropped altogether, because I think that diversity is important for us, and I'm not saying.
How do you want to handle that? You want to entertain Councilman Coleman's motion on that and see what the consensus of the council is?
They've spoken on that already. They feel that everything in Edenton is about diversity. They're looking for issues that they can get into to improve things in Edenton. You know, diversity is everywhere. You know, every board, the council, everything is teaching diversity.
So they felt like these other things were the things that they wanted to concentrate more on.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's coming from them now.
Yeah.
You're the commission.
I mean, when we send it back, we can say, you sure?
Any corrections?
yeah, and the action tonight is for us to take the document back to the commission for them to consider the initiatives. Councilman Coleman, what I can do at that time is revisit item, objective number 5, and make sure that, are you sure that this is not something that needs to stay here? And I think the consensus will be, we'll have a hard time finding something that we can work on to make it better.
But tonight, we're approving these objectives.
Yep, to go back to the group.
That being said, Mr. Gooden, I would move that we send the draft as it is currently revised onto the Human Relations Commission for their adoption, along with the request that they just assure us one way or another whether or not objective number 5 in the old document is something they want to keep or not keep. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Sure.
If they still decline number 5, do we go on with what we got? Or are we gonna force them?
No, I don't think,
Okay.
I don't think we should be.
Okay.
Yeah. And with,
I second that motion.
with Mayor Pro Tem Barnes, second of the motion and that clarification,
So question, could we word it differently?
Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, maybe like continue to encourage or something like that versus saying, promote or encourage it.
And that would be part of the discussion with the group when we look at item number 5, the wording around that.
And if they go along with that, then we change it.
Okay, we have a motion, and I think we had a
Yeah.
second.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
thank you, Mayor Stalman. That concludes the reports of the Administrative Committee.
Okay, the next is new business, and we're considering a business registration ordinance and an application, and I'll turn that over to Corey for that discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. New business item A for the business registration and ordinance and application. Some years back, the North Carolina general statutes were established that no longer allow municipal systems to issue business license. Those are something that the state felt that was housed and processed through the state system. Yes. One of the things that we've been challenged with from an administration standpoint is simply knowing what businesses exist in Edenton. The ordinance that is presented is one that we have been able to modify to fit Edenton. This is an existing ordinance that's being used by one of our peers here locally for a business registration. what this would allow us to do is at least know the type of businesses that operate here within our town limits.
Corey,
Um,
is this a state requirement?
This is not, a lot of towns have, when they lost the privilege to have a business license issued to businesses in their town, have opted instead to simply just do a business registration. This will allow us to answer questions or calls we have from residents. When folks come in, this will be something we could also potentially share with the chamber. That probably will be where we get started. This will be something that's sent out. The ordinance that is presented and the application is very similar to one that's currently approved and in use within Elizabeth City. They were actually one of the first municipal systems to go towards a business registration ordinance and application. And so we very much mirrored what they have there. So town staff does recommend that council approve the business registration ordinance and application as presented.
Corey, how did this come up? How did this come?
We have a lot of folks that will come in that are business owners that would come to the town because they're unaware of not needing a business license in a smaller area and ask for a business license. And then we share with them this is not something that we.
Can I also interject
Yes.
here? We also have frequently businesses that are newly established that need insurance. And this is one way that they can prove that they actually have a business in Edenton. Without this license, we have to just hand type this is an established business located at blah, 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 the address. And this will also help the business owner with their insurance.
Is this a nominal fee? It's not an
There
expense?
is no fee.
There's no fee.
I thought it was $20.
It is a $20 fee,
$20.
yeah.
Okay.
For the application.
Right.
Sorry about that, yes, sir.
Okay.
So there is a $20 application fee.
Corey, what about people working remote from home? Is that a business?
It would depend on the physical address of the businesses that.
Yeah.
Is this renewable each year or just a one-time fee?
That is something that we would need to decide upon. These applications, they do have terms on those. And if council decided to do these at a longer term, that's something that we could adjust.
For right now,
Just a one-year term for now, but we could have the option to modify this once approved, to make any revisions for as far as, issue versus expiration date.
How much workload is this going to place on the existing staff?
I think very little. Most of the businesses would be able to be identified based on the account type they have, whether it's industrial, commercial, versus residential. This is something that we could simply just notify each
This
of
is
those.
something we used to do in the past also, through an accounting system, that automatically generates, the invoice to be mailed once a year, so
an auditor would be checking this, correct? This is,
They
what
would,
auditor
yes.
would?
they would.
Okay,
Because it would be entered as part of our budget as well.
okay.
Any further questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. And Corey, customer service policy update, that's you as well.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to the last item, for the past 3 or 4 months, Virginia and I, as well as our customer service representative, have been really kind of working through some policy updates to really revise some of the customer service policy items that we have that are either no longer applicable to the town, or they're a type of service that we don't provide. The document that's presented tonight would take into account those. These also take into account, and I have a full list here. I'm more than glad to read through each of those. There are quite a few. The customer service policy update includes items for different residential accounts, and I can send a summary of these changes if need be. But we've also found that some of our deposits for our different types of services are actually below what a typical monthly bill is currently at for water, electric, min and max. We're requesting adjustments to those. Currently, one thing to consider for water and sewer deposits, a minimum of $25. From what we found is that most of our bills, if left unpaid, are substantially higher than that for our current water costs. And so one of the recommendations that is worth noting here is the minimum water and sewer deposit cost would now be $75 and a max of $100. This is typical bill range of what we would see. There would actually only have one electric deposit that would be required currently. The minimum for that is $150 and the max is $350. What we're recommending based on current bill use is that minimum be increased to $250 and a max of $500.
Good question, that's already a risk-based system, is that correct?
Say that.
That's already a risk-based module that we have?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see, I'm trying to see if there's ever any other major notable items that weren't just clerical corrections.
And Corey, the document, the final document is the same as the one that was in our package?
Yes, that's correct. And all the changes were highlighted that were there. So if anyone has any questions, but what I wanted to make sure the public was aware of was particularly the water and sewer minimum deposit rates. That would be something the customer would want to know. But nothing else here is changed or modified from what was in the back.
I think that's,
Are those rates posted at town hall?
They are currently posted with our water and sewer rates, and then what we can do is update these values on that, just like we did when we changed our water and sewer rates for July 1. That'd be part of the revision. This would allow us to be consistent in both places.
I think my only concern is that it's kind of high for the maximum. So a new customer, a new resident coming in is looking at moving expenses first month, if they're renting first month rent deposit, and plus $600, upwards of $600 over deposit for utilities. Yeah, that'll be my only concern, is that kind of high. Is that something we go back and kind of revisit?
Well, we tried to figure out based on the financials of what most bills that were left unpaid were to actually cover deposit, and currently, when we talk about the gap, let me find the number here.
And is there some tie-in, I think you said there's some tie-in with historical monthly bills?
It is, and so the minimums, most of the bills that are left unpaid that these deposits are attempting to recover. The $25 was about $50 less than what we saw a typical bill. Most of our outstanding 1 to 2 month bills that the deposit should cover are within that $75 to $100 range. And so this gets us actually closer to not having the arrears that are there. So,
I'm sorry.
no, the numbers that are presented are as close to a minimum bill as what we would typically see.
You know, on the electric side, honestly, I think that's the piece that's kind of high for me. It's $500 over a question a new customer to pay for a deposit. I don't think the average family that's relocating, think about a teacher who just recently moved here and established service. She had to pay that plus some other things like that. That's kind of high.
And we understand that, and one of the things that we have considered is how can we work with an individual customer basis to try to spread that cost out. But what we have saw is that a minimum outstanding electric bill is typically at minimum around $250, which is the goal of those deposits to at least cover the bare minimum of what may be left unpaid.
Is 600 an outlier?
600 is a combination of maximum electric for, electric deposit of 500 plus a 100 maximum of water and sewer at 100. So that's where that 600 maximum number would come.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, we're not gonna see a whole lot of $600 deposits, are we, based on historical usage of that particular address?
No, that just gives us a lower and upper limit. If what's here is not appropriate, we can revisit this at a different time if there are other revisions that need to be considered. But what was presented really shows those minimum monthly bills.
Well, we're pretty consistent with like size towns.
It's pretty consistent. One other thing to consider is that we are also gonna look at credit scores. Currently, we are not doing that, so if someone comes in and we can either run their credit, or if they can provide us with a 12-month history from their current utility provider, that deposit will go towards the lower end. Someone that is not as credit worthy, that is considered a risk, will have the higher deposit, so it's not gonna be this $600 automatic deposit just because they're establishing new service. It will also depend on their credit rating.
Any further discussion? All right, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, we have one opposed. Motion carried. Okay, now we get to, back to the council board appointments. We sort of jumped the gun when we, Corey and I guess both of us can take credit or blame for that. We automatically put, our new councilman in place of Reverend Poole. And, I had talked with Councilman Miller, and, he has agreed to step down from the tree committee, and from that we'll put Councilman Costin, I'm sorry, on the tree committee, and on the county board has a Chowan Cares, and we will put you on those two.
Yeah, I'd actually requested when I first sat down with both of you that I be placed on Housing Authority Board.
That's not gonna happen.
Is that right?
Yes, sir, that's not gonna happen. So, like I say, you are on the tree committee and on the Chowan Cares.
Mayor, it looks like all the councilmen are on two committees, the way I look at it. So.
Right. Yeah.
I will say I'm going to miss anybody watching. I have enjoyed the tree committee for the past 4.5 years. It's been a great group to work with. And I'm glad to see that Flynn Harding has been accepted as a new member. But the committee is run quite well. And you should be proud.
Did you have any further comments?
And as far as that goes, Councilman Costin, just to shed some light on the tree committee appointment, there was particularly a request from the group for diversity, and that's one of the things that we talked about that was overlooked. That committee actually specifically had requested to include a more diverse group, and we feel like that's something that I mistakenly overlooked when we simply replaced Reverend Poole's positions with yourself.
Going forward, I was advised that most councilmen have a say-so into where they like to be assigned. So I hope that's an option for me going forward and not just being assigned in the future.
And at this time, that would be something that would be considered in the future, but the vacancies that were provided is where we initially started. And so any fault that may be from that is completely on my shoulders.
Okay, moving forward, we'll go to items considered timely and important. Anybody else here have anything?
Just one thing, Mayor, I'm getting some concerns about our streets court in town and conditions therein. And I'm telling people, we're addressing that slowly. And maybe you can elaborate, or anybody listening or watching, what do we hope to accomplish this fiscal year with our street resurfacing program?
So David and I worked through this some during our budget cycle. This is one of the things that new Public Works Director was tasked with. We have received some initial cost estimates of a rather large list of streets that are candidates to be paved. What we need to do now is to sit down and identify which one of those could potentially be paved and covered by costs that is currently funded by the town versus another loan option like we have in the future or in the past for the previous two rounds that were paved. So at this time, we have identified a list. Dave and I are going to work on the overall conditions and figure out which ones the town can afford with our current fiscal year budget in-house versus the ones that would need to be subbed and actually bid it out like we've done for the previous two rounds. We hope to be able to provide some council input as well as citizen input in that decision. But to note one thing from our original list from 5 years ago, there are very few that remain on what were considered priority 1 and priority 2. The town has done an outstanding job over the past 4 years particularly with identifying and paving a large number of streets as streets resurfacing projects in addition to the ones that have been paved as a result of water and sewer projects. So there is a balance there, but we could probably provide a list, I would say, within 30 to 45 days back to council as far as initial staff recommendations.
The two loans that we took out, Corey, do you know what time limit do we have on those two loans?
Virginia, were those 20-year notes on the two paving rounds from before?
I thought it was 10, but I could be wrong.
Well,
I will verify tomorrow when we get back to the office.
we can
I'm
follow
pulling
up.
for Virginia.
So what you're saying, it would be kind of a phase 3?
Yes.
You go into?
Yes. And historically, what we've done is we have been able to in-house cover some of our smaller secondary roads with town funds directly, just like this past year, where we were able to get one of the parking lots. And we've also identified some smaller secondary roads that we would like to go ahead and move forward with this summer.
Okay, how are roads that haven't been paved in the last few ones, like Towers Lane, where it's completely fallen apart? You've been down there enough, you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, we have several like that.
Like Walker Street, with all that construction going on, the expansion of the storage units.
Yes, and we would like to review all those lists. Those particular streets were on the initial cost estimates that we received from the Wooten Company, and within the last year's time have gotten dramatically worse. I would say they are a fairly safe bet.
Yeah, okay.
Also, I know everybody's got, everybody's got a street or a section of street. But I tell you what's really bad is if you're traveling east on Queen Street and cross over Broad Street, that first 50 yards of Queen Street as you're passing Carolina East on your right and the courthouse on your left is really, really bad. I'm afraid somebody's gonna turn an ankle, a pedestrian, and
Yes, and we've done some small repair work right there near the crosswalk. That is something that we have definitely discussed with DOT as far as when the street signals are put in place. Those are done very delicately. that area was one of the sections that was removed from phase two. Any of the streets that were removed from phase two are still very high on the priority list for this next round,
That's
yes,
good to hear.
yes.
Has the state made any declaration or suggestions as to when they might pave Broad Street?
The most recent conversations I've had with DOT looks like February and March of '23 will be when those contracts will be let to bid. So it will be
Would
within.
that be from water all the way up to?
That would be
North,
from Queen
Queen?
all the way up.
And there's one in the Mill Village you didn't get.
Yes, there was
Actually,
Phillips and.
two.
Yeah, there's two streets there.
Phillips
And,
and Elliott.
And then
yes,
it's in
Phillips
bad
and
shape.
yes. We are planning on doing some paving within this summer paving season. And we've actually already spoken with a couple of the vendors that we've used in-house for these smaller secondary roads to go ahead and get started on some of these.
I'm getting a lot of positive comments from Mill Village people who had their streets paved last time. And they love it. It's just,
The project that you and I talked about, is it coming on?
Yes, as far as the old Hertford Road improvements,
Yeah.
yes, sir, I've reached out to the state. The state will begin that work August 1st. We may start seeing materials staged as soon as July 18th.
And what does that stretch from? Does that stretch the entirety of Old Hertford Road? Or?
Initial repairs will be at the culverts there in front of the Optimus Club and across the street from Mr. Norville's storage units. And there will be some additional improvements, stormwater improvements that will be made from the roadway section towards the outfall ponds that are located there between Old Hertford and East Church.
and that would affect Emma Godfrey
Yes,
too, so.
yes.
The lady that you brought to us about the flooding in her area.
That's her.
Yes.
I think, did we?
This
get-
will take care of that?
Yes.
Yeah,
She's been
great.
Yeah, and so the initial documents that we will be submitting are due July 18th as well. We're working on the Wooden Company. Virginia and I actually approved the task order for that work this week and
And
have already
that's-
submitted to
That's
the-
separate, right?
The Wooden Company will be handling the engineering. The initial engineer's report did come from SEPI Engineering, but the engineering oversight and construction review will be done by Wooden.
And that looks like the end of this month, maybe first of August?
We should start seeing construction August 1st, the week of August 1st. I had that conversation with DOT today.
Mayor Stallings, I had the opportunity to be out at the cemetery today, and the private contractor landscaping crew was out there, and I tell you what, they did not cut any corners. They were doing a very, very thorough job.
That's great, that's good to hear.
I mean, they were weed eating every stray piece of grass that was standing up, and I was very impressed.
So, you know, I've been listening to, you know, like the idea of this, you know, deposits you have to put down, the raising the price of the trolley. Is there any way that we could look into what other communities do? They have some way to do hardship exemptions and things like that. You know, I mean, if a nonprofit uses it, or if you know, somebody just can't afford to use the trolley and they're residents, I mean, I don't think it ought to be available to, you know, people at large. But whether there's some way we could build a fund through private philanthropy or something that would help people if they really can't afford those things. I know we work with them on electric bills and all that, but, you know, sort of across the board, have this sort of, you know, way to help people that can't quite afford what we're offering.
I will definitely look into it and see what we can find that other municipal systems have for certain general services, hardships.
You know,
We can reach out to
deposits, you know, things
the
like that.
league. I think that's something that's definitely existing, that's there.
I mean, Edenton's getting more and more expensive, and I think it's going to be harder and harder for some people to be here, and there need to be some, you know, some life rafts done out
Yes,
there.
and when we particularly talk about like the trolley rental and the rates, we have really held on as to the very last minute to try to delay any increases on families of any
I'm sorry, I keep interjecting. Actually, we do have a couple of different programs. I don't know if you've ever taken the time to look at your bill, but we have the WARM program where people can round up their bill. And we send that money to the Department of Social Services. So when people need help either with deposits or with, utility bills, like they have been disconnected for non-payment and whatever.
Does that go to county people or just town people?
That goes to anybody that applies for those services. But there's also help, now that's just money that the town collects that contributes to
Yeah.
the county.
Right.
But there's also funds available through Catholic Ministries, the Salvation Army, and Emergency Aid. So there
For
are four
electricity,
different,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
correct. So
I mean,
there's
maybe we broaden that in some way to,
Some of your different churches do that same thing.
yeah.
too.
I mean, we had our own sort of pot of money
Yeah.
that,
And I think we've got to start there. I know that we have some options with PD when we have a true hardship that we
Yeah.
come across that maybe, to provide, you know, a room for someone to live.
we elected to send those contributions that we collect to the county because they're more in line with who actually needs the help. I mean, they have their own specific case, and most of the time, the people that already receive assistance through the low income energy assistance program, our contributions go towards them.
I'll definitely see if it's something.
yeah, I just think it's making something, you know.
Hotel. Anything going on with that?
You look at me.
No, I'm just asking. Anything,
You could
anything?
have sat there all night without.
And the next question is gonna be the grocery store.
I ain't even going to grocery store. I know that's the deal. But someone asked me the other day, what happened to the hotel? I said, you know,
I've had some conversations with the site plan manager, as far as back in February when we, had discussed the idea, and they had approached us for, particularly, acquiring some more property, for that development. We have seen, some revised, renderings of what the structure would look like. It has taken from February till actually yesterday, we received the plat information from the surveyor, and we are scheduled to receive the appraisal of that parcel by the end of this week. It has taken almost 5 months to have a survey and appraisal done. They are that far behind and overbooked.
Corey, I will go ahead and give you a forecast of what my vote will be on that, and my vote will only be to enter into a contract to sell that portion to them, and I am not gonna vote in any way, shape, or form of actually transferring a deed to them until we see some activity over there. There's got to be some
Amen
way
to
to
that.
force them
that's.
to some action,
Amen to
and
that.
I'm all for working with somebody who wants to come to town, but I have not seen any evidence that they want to come to
I mean,
town.
how long has
So
it been going on?
you can go ahead and signal
10
that,
years.
at least one
10 years.
council member is saying that. I will not vote to transfer a deed right now under the current set of circumstances.
And
I'll enter into a contract, and we'll have to get our attorney to put in there certain conditions that allow us to get out of that contract, but I will not vote for any transfer on the front end. It would have to be on that back end.
and we have started those conversations with the town attorney.
They're not interested in selling the property?
At some exorbitant price.
That much?
I think they have the mistaken idea that they're in control. And notice I said the mistaken idea. Anything, anybody else up here?
Just one thing. Corey, I agree with the mayor that we can't, tell the, county commissioners what to do, but have there been any, new conversations or developments working with the county on the future of the Confederate monument?
No, we've just finished our June, budget month, both groups, with my vacation as well as, some of the county staff. I have not had any chance to talk with them about it for July, but I will be requesting an update this week.
I had spoke with someone at the county, and they said that they sent over some type of correspondence by way of their attorney to you. Have you not received that just
I
yet?
have not.
Okay. Yeah, we get an update on that, hopefully on the next, meeting.
All right.
Okay, anybody else up here? Anybody in the public have a comment or want to talk, anything they want to bring before us?
You don't want to talk about my grocery store?
I do not. Okay, the public comment section will now be closed. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.